Double Fine Productions announces a sequel to Psychonauts, and famed game developer Hideo Kojima was prevented from attending the 2015 Game Awards. I'm West, and you're watching Gaming Update. Last week was host to the Game Awards 2015, which is an annual awards ceremony honoring achievements in the video game industry. It's a significant event in gaming, but what stole the headlines this year wasn't the award recipients, but rather events that took place throughout the ceremony. But before we go any further, have you guys ever heard of Psychonauts? Psychonauts is an adventure platformer developed by Double Fine Productions and published in 2005. The game follows the character Raz, a young boy gifted with psychic abilities who runs away from the circus to try to sneak into a summer camp for those with similar powers to become a psychonaut, a spy with psychic abilities. The game is centered around exploring the strange and imaginative minds of the various characters that Raz enters in an attempt to help them overcome their fears or memories of the past. Now, despite receiving strong critical praise, the game didn't manage to sell very well, only moving about 100,000 units around the time of launch and resulting in a fairly significant financial loss. But despite being a commercial loss, the game has won a number of industry awards and still holds a cult following. Now, the reason why this is all relevant is because at the Game Awards 2015, Double Fine Productions announced their campaign to fund a sequel for Psychonauts.
Hi, I'm Tim Schafer, and 15 years ago, I started Double Fine Productions for a lot of reasons, but mostly because I wanted to make a game. A really specific game, actually, about a young acrobat who runs away from his family's circus to become a psychic secret agent. A game where every level is set inside someone's mental world, where you literally fight their demons and wrestle their nightmares. It's a game with surprises and action and fun and a couple of weird parts and some jokes in there. A game called Psychonauts. And now I'd like to make another one, and I need your help.
Double Fine is attempting to crowdfund Psychonauts 2 through a website called Fig, which you may or may not have heard of up until this point, but it's a crowdfunding website that's very similar to Kickstarter. But unlike Kickstarter, it allows pledgers to become actual investors into the game, which means theoretically a pledger could see a profitable return come back to them if the game is successful enough. Now, they're asking for $3.3 million to top off the roughly $10 million budget that's required to develop this video game. And that's where we start stepping into some controversy because Double Fine Productions' reputation with crowdfunding is a little bit shaky to say the least. In 2012, Double Fine Productions went to Kickstarter to crowdfund Broken Age, then called Double Fine Adventure. The campaign far exceeded its $400,000 goal, ending with a whopping $3.3 million donated. Even with that extremely generous surplus, Double Fine still ran out of money about a year into production and were forced to split the game into two parts, where the first would be sold in order to raise money to carry the production through to completion. Then, in 2014, Double Fine raised $400,000 on IndieFund.com to develop a space simulator called Space Base DF9. And yet again, Double Fine ran out of money, and this time they pushed the game from Steam Early Access to full release, half completed, and lacking previously promised features. Okay, so naturally gamers are a little bit hesitant to just pledge their money to Tim Schafer after these past flubs, but let's stop for a second and think about what really could be happening here, because the way that I see it, there's approximately three different scenarios. Either one, Tim Schafer is a con man who is intent on scamming people out of their money time and time again. Two, Tim Schafer is a genuine guy but has the fiscal responsibility of MC Hammer. Or three, he's just a human. He's an ambitious game developer who's made mistakes, learned from them, and is more than capable of developing remarkable video games. I think it's also worth noting that since Psychonauts is an established franchise with an established universe, characters, and art style, the likelihood of Double Fine running out of time and money is considerably less. Now, I'm not trying to tell you guys what you should or should not do with your money, and full disclosure, I don't really feel strongly one way or the other about this. I just want you guys to be able to make an informed decision. I'll leave a link to the crowdfunding campaign below, and if you want to make a contribution, then feel free to do so. I know there are a lot of people that would thank you for it. And hell, you know, it's certainly a better cause than donating money to this channel. Because I would just blow it all on Destiny, Halo, Journey. Not the games, those are strippers. Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain won this year's Best Action-Adventure Game at the Game Awards 2015. But when the award was presented, it wasn't the game's historic developer Hideo Kojima who accepted it, but rather Kiefer Sutherland, who voiced the game's protagonist. Which, by the way, isn't an awful consolation prize. I mean, I wish I was at a point in my life where Kiefer Sutherland would act as my proxy. I mean, hell, have you seen what that guy can do in 24 hours?
Accepting for Metal Gear Solid 5 on behalf of Hideo Kojima is the voice of Snake, Kiefer Sutherland.
On behalf of Hideo Kojima and everybody who worked on the game, I will accept this award and thank you from the bottom of our hearts. On a personal note, I just wanted to say that I think you guys are the most devoted fans I have ever seen. It doesn't matter whether it seems to be premiere of 24 or an opening of a film. The only thing I seem to ever sign are posters of Snake from Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, you're telling me, Kiefer. I've attended a number of your signings, and because they're so swamped with Metal Gear Solid fans, I've yet to get the chance to have you sign my poster of you from Lost Boys. And I'm sick of everybody asking me why I have this framed in my living room. Okay, it's sexy, it's tasteful, and it really ties the room together. Okay, well, it was awesome seeing Kiefer Sutherland, but where's Papa Kojima? You know, this should have been his big moment, and it's unlike him to miss events like this. Well, let me tell you, OG Keeley here has your back, because immediately after the award, he straight up blew the lid off of Konami's bullshit.
Thank you very much, Kiefer, for accepting that award. And as you noticed, Hideo Kojima is not here with us tonight, and I want to tell you a little bit about that. Mr. Kojima had every intention of being with us tonight, but unfortunately he was informed by a lawyer representing Konami just recently that he would not be allowed to travel to tonight's awards ceremony to accept any awards. He's still under an employment contract, and it's disappointing, and it's inconceivable to me that an artist like Hideo would not be allowed to come here and celebrate with his peers.
Holy shit. All right, so first off, tip of the fedora to Jeff Keighley, because he didn't have to air out Konami's dirty laundry like that, but he did, and he probably burned a few bridges while he was at it. Albeit bridges that lead directly to Satan's suckhole, but, you know, still very cool. So this is obviously another move in this campaign that Konami has set out on to ostracize Hideo from the company and to distance his name from the Metal Gear franchise. But why, Konami? Why? What you're doing is so unnecessarily vehement, and you're doing it at the cost of your company's own reputation. The real victims in all this are all the poor people that actually work for Konami, because they're the ones that are forced to be the face of these nonsensical and juvenile work practices. I don't think I've seen a positive news article on Konami in about a year now, and yet they seem intent on making one awful PR move after another. So what's next, Konami? You want to throw up some pachinko machines in Skid Row? Rip off the homeless? You want to shut down some animal shelters maybe? Maybe push over an old person? Fuck it, you might as well just change your company name to something like, well, you know, I think ISIS has some strong points too, because that's the only way you can make people hate you more than they do now. Oh shit! Because originally, players had to defeat Vicar Amelia, only afterwards he had to make it look like an accident. So you put a bottle of Xanax in one hand and a 6-pack of Mike's Hard Lemonade in the other, and throw her carcass into a kiddie pool and wait for things to blow over. After about 7 or so days, real time, Gurman would approach you and ask you if you had any Grey Poupon. Now, this is actually a passphrase, to which you would have to respond, Danshi Dangaran, which is Mandarin for, but of course. Gurman would then reward you with the board game Mousetrap, which you'd have to assemble and trigger in the light of a full moon, and once you do that, you'd be given directions to defuse a bomb on the set of ABC's 1980s action adventure television show, MacGyver.